By the way, we have our trusty beverages. Coffee for me. What you got there, SJ? It's
I've
late in
got
the
a
evening.
diet.
You.
I've got a diet Coca-Cola, David, which is my one and only vice.
Well, of course you do. Hey, Mahmood, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Mahmood is on Facebook Live. I'm going to try to field questions on Zoom and Facebook, so it could get exciting for this two-finger typer over here. I'm just warning y'all. If you see, frantically with my head down like this, I'm responding to questions and stuff.
So just for the Facebook users that have just joined, we have gone live. We've gone live early so that people can jump on. We can make sure everything's working and share the relevant links in the groups and things. And we will properly start at past, so 7 minutes time. So
perfect. And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do for you today is going to be, you're going to love it. I mean, when I saw what SJ had planned for today, I got super, super excited and was just like, oh my God, everybody needs to know about this. We need to blast it out in the group. Everybody needs to be here because this is really, really cool what you're doing and stuff here. So I'm excited about it.
Once we get nearer to the time, I'll share my screen. We'll have a little preview of what it is that we're going to build in this webinar, and then we will go ahead and start coding together, make it happen. Just for anybody here that is going to follow along, you'll need either a child theme with a custom JS file in it so that you can add some jQuery, or you can achieve the same thing by using the integration tab within the Divi panel and placing the jQuery into script tags, and it will work very much the same way. So preferably a child theme set up. If you haven't got one, you can grab one at Divi Space using the child theme builder. And that's all you'll really need. Everything else is custom code.
All right, I got my message formulated. Going to post it to Divi Theme Help and Share. And let me go post it a couple more places. Actually, I'm not looking at Facebook Live, by the way, just FYI right now. So if people are asking questions or anything, I am not seeing it.
So we've got just Mahmood saying hi, and nothing else on Facebook Live at the minute. And we've got 6 attendees in Zoom, 9 attendees in Zoom now, and 7 on Facebook Live. So to anybody that's just joined, we're just waiting for past to tick on, and then we'll officially start. We're just going live a little bit early so we can share the link into the groups.
Yep. And let's see here. You know who I do want to go to is this one. It's interesting. It grabs a different screenshot every time I post to the groups of the live feed. So we've got one with me with a coffee mug, one with my bald head straight down like this. And SJ looks great as usual, but like I said, two-finger typer going to be looking down at the world. So
it's because I've got the beard covering like 40% of my face, so I'm fine.
All right. Right. I think I've got it posted everywhere. Hey, Max, how you doing? Mahmood and Max. Now, let's see here. Hey, Adam. Awesome. Well, I got to tell you, Adam, when SJ showed me what he was doing today, holy cow, it's going to be super duper awesome. So strap yourselves in. I think you need to drop whatever you're doing, Adam, and just come chat with us live and join us on the Facebook Live.
I think it's Justin, because it's short on the name. I think Justin asked in Zoom how it looks in the code that we're writing, how it looks in the Visual Builder. So the code that we're writing today is going to make some adjustments to the header, and it's not going to get in your way in the Visual Builder at all. So it's compatible with the jQuery won't run in the Visual Builder, but it doesn't get in your way. So things still work as they should when making adjustments to the page in the Visual Builder.
And I want y'all to know I've got my trusty Divi Chat shirt on today, representing. By the way, we have some Divi Chat shirts. I will bring them out to WordCamp Orange County. I don't know if I announced this last week or not, but I was one of the people selected to speak for this year's WordCamp Orange County, June 9th and 10th. If you're in the Orange County, LA area, early June, come on out and see us. I'll be bringing some of these Divi Chat shirts, and we'll give you one if you're a Divi Chat listener. Hey, Corey, glad you could make it. Josic, I don't know if I just butchered your name, buddy, but welcome to the webinar. SJ, we've got T-minus 1 minute, my friend.
How quickly it came around.
Hey, John, we're excited to have you here as well, my friend. And we're excited to have everybody here, I got to tell you. What we're going to do first is SJ is going to give you a preview of what exactly we're going to do today and go over in this quick webinar. And I think once you see what it is that he's going to do and show you how to do, you're probably going to stay all the way to the end. So I'm just warning you. All right, let me check Slack and turn it off.
Hi to the 12 people that have joined on Zoom. Hello to the 16 people on Facebook Live. I think we're just about ready to start.
Yep, and I think, you know what I'm going to do? I meant to do this because watching last week's video, I'm using this screen to field the questions, so a lot of the video got my profile. So I think I'm going to adjust my camera to where I move it over just a tad, and that way it'll look like I'm...
We all just saw up your nose, David. We all saw right up your nose.
All right. I think we're ready, SJ. It's time. Are we ready to start this thing?
I'm ready.
Well, let's first, before you dive off into the screen share and show people what we're going to do today, let's introduce ourselves. My name is David Blackman with Divi Space and Aspen Grove Studios. Obviously, we're part of the Divi Chat posse, and I also co-host the WordPress podcast with Mr. Tim Streifler, WP, the podcast. Go listen to it. It's awesome. I'm just letting you know. And I've got my good friend SJ here. Tell us who you are, SJ.
My name is SJ James. I'm the founder of Divi Space. And you'll probably, if you're in the Facebook groups, you'll have seen me around. I've made a couple of Divi plugins. The most popular ones would be Divi Switch and Page Builder Everywhere. And I'm currently just about to launch the Transforming Divi with CSS and jQuery course, which is going to be a whole lot more of this. But, much, much more. Loads going on. So there's that.
Yeah, and I guess that's great. I mean, that's a good segue. I guess this is as good a place to talk about it as any. If you're new to CSS, don't know anything about jQuery, and have a desire to learn, and you're getting into the WordPress web development game, if you watch this webinar today, and if you watched the webinar last week, SJ is a fabulous teacher. Take it from a non-tech person. I am very technically inclined, but my focus is on the business side of things and marketing and stuff. So when a business and marketing guy can come in, listen to what SJ is telling me, and understand how to do it, that to me is a sign of a really, really good teacher. So we're excited to launch this course on May 1st. That's when it will launch. You should get an email with, an early bird discount should you want to take advantage of it and come join us and learn CSS and jQuery with SJ James. We are going to offer one-on-one coaching to a select few. So just putting that out there, SJ and I have been talking about him, taking 10 students and offering one-on-one coaching. So without further ado, SJ, go ahead and share your screen and stuff and do your thing.
I'm just going to, let's share this screen. If you just let me know when you can see it, David, and hopefully that means everybody else can.
I can see it, so we're good.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do today is we're going to use one of the pre-built Divi layouts as a base. And we're going to show you how to start your Divi header beneath the first section. So as you can see here, we have the first section, and then if we scroll down, we have the header that would normally be fixed to the top. And then underneath that, we have the rest of the sections. When we go down, that header fixes to the top. So it's a good way of having your header start lower on the page. If you are using submenus, then when the menu is low on the page like this, then those submenus will open upwards. And as you start to go up the page and that menu is at the top, those submenus will open downwards. Now, all of this is possible using things that are built into Divi. Certain things like the fixed header and the way that classes are added there, and by reverse engineering one of Divi's modules, the menu module, to pull out the functionality for moving that submenu from the bottom to the top. So all of this that we're going to do is just CSS and a couple of lines of jQuery, and all in all, it's less than 44 lines of code. So there's not a whole lot to it. The main point of this webinar will be to show you how to inspect Divi, find out how these things are doing the things that they're doing, and then use them to create your own custom effects, such as the header appearing or below the first section. So hopefully that's an effect that you guys like. And
why don't you go ahead and take out what you need to do to get prepared to teach them how to do that. While you're doing that, I'm going to direct people in the Facebook live stream. If you're in Facebook, sometimes it's harder to see what SJ is doing, especially when he gets to the writing out the code part. I dropped a link and I pinned it for you to join the Zoom webinar. You're going to be able to see a whole lot clearer on that platform than through Facebook Live. So don't hesitate to jump on over. It should only take a minute or so. Yes, the screen sharing did stop because SJ just wanted to give a preview of what it was that we were doing, Sharon.
I'm just I'm just stripping out the code of how that effect is made, and then we're going to build it together. I'm
going to go ahead and give a shout out and say hi to some famous Divi friends of ours who are from all over the globe. My good friend Fabio. Fabio, great new product, my friend. Need yesterday. If you haven't seen it, layouts, go check it out. Fabio's got a great new product. Hi, Anna. Glad you could join us. And, man, well, I don't know if everybody else got as excited as I am about seeing you do this stuff. So thanks, Adam. See you later, my friend. Adam Inlay. Divi Theme Help and Share Guru. He's bailing on us. You're killing me, Adam. You're killing me. SJ, you just let me know when you're ready, my friend.
I'm good to go.
Let's go. Let's get it started.
Just so you know, I'm gonna drop Facebook. So if there's any comments or anything that I need to be aware of, David, if you could just shout them out.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna start screen sharing again. now. So hopefully you can see that.
We got it. Can see it just fine.
Okay, so effectively, the main ways that this work is by hijacking a built-in class that Divi uses. Once the header gets to the top of the page, it adds a class called etFixedHeader, and I'll just show you how that works. So at the moment, can everybody see that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so if we look at the main header there, if we scroll on this window, you can see that the class etFixedHeader is
actually
added.
we see a like a black screen, SJ. So I'm not sure if it, when you do a pop-up, if it opened it up into a different window. So
let me do this so that it's part of the same.
Yeah, put it in the same browser. That way you can. Yep, now we can see it.
That better?
That is a whole lot better. Sorry about that, folks.
So if we look at main header here, when we scroll, it's adding this class etFixedHeader. And the reason that it adds that class is in Divi, obviously, that applies some effects. So when you scroll, the fact that the menu shrinks a little bit and the header becomes smaller. And that's one of the effects that is added on etFixedHeader. So if we went into Theme Customizer, and looked under header and navigation, all the fixed navigation settings are happening once that etFixedHeader class has been added. So what we're going to do is we're going to hijack that for our own uses. But before we do that, we are going to need a place to add jQuery and a place to add CSS. So ideally, if you want to follow along with this code, and I'll drop the actual code that's being used into the comments after we've gone through it, you'll either need a child theme set up with both a place to add CSS and jQuery, or if you don't have a child theme or you're using a premium child theme and would rather add the code elsewhere, you can add the custom CSS into Divi's custom CSS box. It will work completely fine there. And you can add the jQuery under the integrations tab to the header, as long as you add it in between script HTML tags, and then it will work absolutely fine. So the first thing that we're going to do then is we're going to move our first section to above the header. And we're going to do that with jQuery. So I'm just going to practice that in the browser first. So I'm going to inspect, and I'm going to go to console, and then I'm just going to write a line of jQuery. So what I'm doing here is I'm writing jQuery first. It lets the console know that I'm writing in jQuery. And then I am going to add insert before, and then another pair of brackets. So I always write, when I'm writing jQuery, I always write the entire line and then go back and actually add the selectors. So just like CSS, you can use elements, classes, and IDs in jQuery to create your selectors. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to say this first section, get that above the header. So sections come with the class etPB section, which you'll know if you've ever inspected element on any section. This is the standard class that is used. Each section on a page has its own unique class. So the first one would be 0, and then the second one would be 1, and then 2, and then 3. So you could, by all means, just put etPB section 0, and then you could put insert before main header. But what that might do is that if you're using any plugins like Page Builder Everywhere or any of the section injectors, things like that, then this order may be slightly off. So what we're going to do is, instead of grabbing 0, we're just going to grab the first of type. So first of type is a pseudo class that is going to allow us to look for whichever item on the page has ETPB section as a class and just grab the first of type. So we're going to allow that. And what that hasn't done is anything, because if we check here, we can see that the main header has a position of fixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to open StyleBot and we're going to change that. So we're going to put main header, and then we're going to put position static. And you'll see with just that line, the header is now underneath, because we've used jQuery to move the section, and we've used CSS to unfix the header and allow it to be moved underneath. Now, what will still happen is you'll still have this kind of area above where the header used to be. The reason being, if we inspect that, you can see that the page container has a fixed padding top of 80 pixels. And the reason is Divi does that to allow room for the layouts, to make sure that the layout isn't disappearing under the fixed header. So what we also need to do in our CSS is add page container padding top 0. And that will fix that issue. Now, we've only run that jQuery at the moment in our browser just to test that it works. So now we know that it does work. We're going to add that to our child theme. So if we go into our editor, click on custom.js, we could simply put ETPB section first of type, insert before main header, and that would work. The problem with writing jQuery like this is that we haven't included it in a document ready function, which means that we're not 100% of when that function is going to run. So if the elements that we're trying to change haven't loaded yet, and we're running jQuery that's supposed to change their order, it's not going to run because this jQuery is running too soon. So what I'm going to show you is how you can add that to a document ready function. But before that, sometimes you will see in tutorials and things jQuery written like that. So instead of having the actual word jQuery at the front, you'll just have a $. WordPress doesn't let you run jQuery like that unless it's in a document ready function. So if you are just writing one line of jQuery, then it's best to write it like that. So to create a document ready function, all we're going to do is we're going to type jQuery.
jQuery.
Good spot. Yeah, so jQuery, and then we're going to create a ready function. And we're going to wrap our line of jQuery inside it. And we're going to run that on the document. And in the function, we're just going to let it know that we're going to be using the $sign from here on in. So we can now change that line of jQuery like that. So that should be all we need. So if we update that file and go back to our front end, so even though we're refreshing the page and the code that we had in the browser would now have disappeared, we're still loading that at the bottom. What's not happening is it's not fixing as it goes to the top. So let's take a look here and have a look what's happening. So even though the ET fixed header is being added, it's not updating the position to be fixed because we've manually changed that and overridden it. So what we'll do now is we will say, open our style bot. And if you don't have Stylebot installed, don't worry. You can be writing all of this CSS in the customizer. It will work exactly the same way. You can be writing it in a style sheet if you have direct access to the files on your computer. That's fine. What we'll do here is we'll say hashtag main header position fixed. Now what we'll do is we'll move all of this out of Stylebot and into our theme files. If we go back on the front, you'll now see that that is sticking to the top. So perfect space to do some troubleshooting with some CSS. So we know that the header should be starting at the bottom, but it isn't. So let's inspect that element and have a look at why. Okay, so you can see here, we have our selector of main header, the position that we've written. This is in our style sheet. We could click on this link and it would take us directly there to have a look at it. And that's crossed out because it's being overridden by this position fixed. So this position, let me just pull this a bit bigger so you can see a bit better. So we've got the ET fixed nav main header is overriding our CSS because it's a more complex selector. So ours is just made up of an ID, and this one here is made up of a class and an ID. So we're going to have to add a class to our selector if we want to override this one, which is a perfect opportunity for us to start making sure that this effect is only being applied to the home page. So if we look at the body class here, you'll see that lots of different, let me just refresh for you. If we look at the body class here, you can see that there's a whole bunch of classes that WordPress is using and adds to the CSS. But it adds the class home only to the home page. So once you've gone into your WordPress settings and you've chosen under reading to set a fixed home page, that's where this class gets added. So we're going to use that class, one, to override the CSS that's causing that to fix to the top of the page, and two, to make sure that our CSS is only running on the home page. So if we now go into here, and we're just going to chuck a .home in front of all of the CSS that we've written so far. And now you can see that that is starting at the bottom, and when it gets to the top, it's fixing. We have got the issue here that the CSS that we wrote to hide this padding at the top isn't working. So let's have a look at why. The ID page container has inline styles of padding top 80 pixels. Now, the only way that we can override a inline style is with a much more complex selector. But because this page container ID is so far up the tree and there's nothing in front of it with an ID, the easier way for us to do this is just going to be to add an important tag in our CSS to the padding top here. So if we chuck an important tag in there, back to the front and refresh, that's now done the majority of what we want to do with this tutorial. So far we're looking at what, 10 lines of CSS and 3 lines of jQuery, and we've managed to create quite a cool custom effect. Now, there's a couple of other things to do here. Firstly, even if I'm at the bottom of the page here, it's opening our submenus only downwards, which obviously causes a problem when the menu is so far down the page because it's cutting pieces off. So we'll have to fix that. Is there any, shall I open Facebook? Is there any questions at this point?
I got to tell you, there's no questions. Lots of viewers on both Zoom and Facebook. So maybe this is an opportunity to segue in and let people know. If you have questions, throw them in here. I've been kind of engrossed in what you've been doing, as much of probably the audience is as well. So if you do have questions, drop them in either on Facebook Live or in Zoom, and we'll be glad to field them and stuff.
And hopefully what you're seeing there is some CSS just sticks even when you write your own CSS. So hopefully what you're seeing there is good ways to inspect that CSS after the fact, and then discover what's causing those issues, override that CSS to ensure that you're creating the effect that you want. What I'm going to do now then is I'm going to play around with this element here, and to do that,
here let me before you get started on that, we do have a couple of questions that have come in.
Okay.
Dave Doherty in the Zoom wants to know: are you going to show what this looks like on tablet and mobile? So obviously there's a hamburger menu and stuff, and I don't know that you thought that far ahead, but you know, how is that going to affect mobile aspect and stuff?
So
same question on Facebook too. So go ahead.
So the element, the jQuery that we're writing will, hopefully you can see the screen adjustments that I'm making.
Yeah, we can see it.
Will work on smaller devices too. Anything that's applied to the main header will affect smaller devices too. What won't affect smaller devices is later on when we start messing around with submenus and moving them up and down. Once this is fixed, this menu is different. So if I inspect, in fact, let me just pull this a bit bigger here. If I inspect this menu here, you can see that the mobile menu or the mobile nav is actually separate completely to the standard nav. So what you're seeing here is this is the standard top menu, and you can see if I open that, we've got the top menu nav, and if I open that, you've got all of your menu items, right? Now, if I close that and open the mobile menu, you will see all of the same links in a completely different HTML. So what Divi does is it's loading a completely different menu for mobile to what it does on desktop. And all it's doing is when you're on desktop, it's displaying none to the mobile menu. And when you're on mobile, it's displaying none to the desktop menu. So our code is going to work completely fine on mobile, but what it's also going to do is the adjustments of submenus and things like that are only going to happen on desktop where they need to happen.
Awesome. All right, that's it for now. You can continue where you left off.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to create a new page. And the reason I'm going to do this is, once that's loaded.
Oh, I do see some other questions, SJ. You know what? This is our first rodeo with this platform, and Zoom has a built-in Q&A section. So do you want to take these now, or do you want me to hold them off until you're done?
I'll be honest, you completely cut out there, and I don't know whether it was for everyone or just for me.
Okay.
So after you said Zoom has, that's all I heard.
How about now? Am I coming through clear for you?
Yeah, you're coming through clear now, yeah.
Okay. There are 4 questions in the Q&A. Would you like to field them now, or would you like to?
Yeah, this is a good place to segue, because after this, we're going to deal with those submenus, and then we're pretty much done. So this is a good place to.
Okay, well, you can click on the Q&A down there in the Zoom, and you can see the questions yourself. Stephen Vaughn asked a question first. He wanted to know, can you target this to just one page? For example, home or landing. I think you may have covered that already, but
yeah. So at the moment, we are just doing it on the home page, and the way that we're doing that is by making sure that all of the code that we're writing has this home class in front of it. Now, I'll just go back in and show where that class is coming from. So if we inspect the page, go up to the body, and we have a look at the classes that are added here. WordPress adds the home class when it's on the home page, but it also adds a page ID, and then you've got other things as well. So for example, if you're in a category page, then it would add the class category. It would add a specific class for each individual category. So because jQuery is largely just using CSS selectors, i.e. selectors that are built up using classes, elements, and IDs, it's very, very easy to target specific pages, specific types of pages, specific templates, and pretty much anything else. So what we're doing here, when we do the code drop and we write the blog post with this code in it, it's going to be very, very easy for you to then take away and modify in any way you see fit. If you just want to apply it to a page, it's as simple as going in, looking at the body class, and just adding the page ID. So in this case, page 51 is the ID. And I can actually use that class the same as I'm currently using the home class.
Awesome. Anne-Marie has a question. Can that jQuery code go in the integration section of the Divi options instead?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I wanted to run it in integration, I would copy this, and then when I went into theme options, I would add the code in between script tags, like that. And then Divi will just run it exactly the same as if it's been copied into a custom JS file.
Awesome. But ideally, let me just ask a question here. Ideally, would you want to do that, or would you want to stay over in the child theme and stuff?
I think if you're at the point where you're writing custom anything beyond CSS, you should start thinking about setting up a child theme and ideally doing the changes in the child theme. If for nothing else, lots of things like adding classes, removing classes, and things like that we use jQuery for can be just as simply done by editing template files. So copying your header into your child theme and making changes there. If you're going to use if you're going to use jQuery libraries or JavaScript libraries, actually copying the scripts for those into the header is so much easier if you've got a child theme set up. So where possible, use a child theme. There are some very specific reasons why you may not want to. If, for example, you're using a custom child theme that you've paid for, you're not going to want to place code into that if it's being updated and you're going to lose the code. If that's the case, you can create a functionality plugin, or you can just use the inbuilt options via integration and custom CSS that are in Divi.
I'm going to answer Stephen's question real quick. He asked, where will the blog post be published? And it's going to be on divi.space. For everybody that wants to know where you can grab the code and stuff, we're going to pop it over on divi.space. Sorry, SJ, go ahead.
Cool. So
you've caught up on the question, so.
Good. So what I want to do is I want to create an effect where if we are lower down the page, the submenu is going to open above. And if we are further down the page, then the submenu is going to open as it does as standard below. Now, I already know that the Divi menu module does this. I know that there is an option in there to choose between opening upwards or opening downwards, even though the standard Divi menu doesn't. And the only reason it doesn't is because it doesn't expect you to have anything above the header. It always thinks that the header is going to be at the top of the page, whether it's fixed or not. So it only ever had to open downwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and effectively see how Divi is handling that change within the module, and then I'm going to apply that to the standard header. So all I'm going to do first of all is add a full width section. I'm going to take a look at this full width menu. I'm going to just use the main menu. And under design, I'm going to choose submenus open upwards. I'm going to save and exit, and then I'm going to preview that screen. So I can see here now that submenus are opening upwards. So if I inspect this element here, I can see by looking up the tree that the menu has a class added to it called upwards. So they're obviously adding that class from the options. So now I need to figure out what CSS is being applied to that. So I can see here that this CSS here, so ETPB full width menu, and then LIUL. So if this is a list, then an unordered list within that list is the submenu. So I know that this is this is the CSS that's making that happen. Now, if you're not sure, a good thing to do is just to add a line of CSS that's easily viewable. So if I put background red in there, and then I look at the menu, I can see that that's being added there. So I know that I'm in the right area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this CSS, and I'm going to go back to my home page here. In Stylebot, I'm then going to copy that CSS in there, and I'm going to apply it to this submenu instead of the module submenu. So all I need to do is inspect here, and I can see nav LIUL. So if I grab that and copy it, replace this selector with that, replace the necessary stuff in front of it to build up my selector. And then I can see that that CSS is now being applied here. So I can remove the red background. And we're pretty much there on making sure that happens. The only issue that we've got at the moment is that it's applying that upwards version of the submenu everywhere, it's also overlapping a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some CSS, and I'm just going to say margin bottom 30 pixels. And then you can see that's there. Now this has presented its own problems in the sense that if I now move off of this link and try and get to the submenu, there's a little bit there where it disappears because I'm not actually touching it. If I inspect this and show you, the padding on these links goes downwards. So when we go downwards to a submenu, we're never actually off the link, but the padding doesn't go upwards. So when we go above the text, we're actually coming off of the link and it's disappearing, which is why the submenu is disappearing. So what we're going to do to counteract that is inspect this element, grab don't know what just happened there. Grab the code. So that's menu item has children. I can see that class. And it's the link within that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this class. I'm going to put that in here. And then I'm going to say the A link inside of it. And I'm just going to do the first child. And the reason I'm going to do the first child is that I only want this to be applied on the actual submenu and not any children of that submenu. So from here, I can write padding top 30 pixels as well. So what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that I'm never off of the link, because the padding now goes to the top as well as to the bottom. Obviously, as you can see, that's messed up the formatting. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to put margin top minus 30 pixels, which is going to bring that back. And then to the arrow, which if we again inspect element, is being applied to the after pseudo class here. We can see the position top at the moment is 0. So let's change that to 30 pixels. So we're just going to grab that CSS and we're going to say top 30 pixels to bring that back in line. So now, if we hover, as we're going up, that submenu is no longer disappearing because we're never off of that link. So we now know how to make it go up. We just have to work out how to make sure it only goes up when we're at the bottom of the page and then starts going back down as normal after the fact. So to do this, let's just save this CSS for now. We're going to add a little bit more jQuery. And again, we're going to use some of Divi's built-in functionality to effectively hack this effect. So if we go into our custom JavaScript, what we're going to do is we're going to add our own class to the page container. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, we're going to create a line of jQuery, and we're going to add class, and then we're going to add in our selectors. So this is again going inside that document ready function. So it's not running until all of the document elements have been loaded. And in here, I'm just going to put .home. So again, just as you would create CSS selectors, you can do the same thing in jQuery. And then I'm going to add class of open up. So if we save that and go back to our front end, if we go into the page container here, you can see that we've now added the class open up using jQuery. So what I can now do is I can add that class to our CSS here. And what that will effectively do now is only apply this CSS styling to make this appear upwards as and when that open up class is there. So at the moment, that open class or that open up class is always there because we've added it via jQuery using the add class usage. So what we're going to do instead is we're now going to create a toggle for that class, so that it only is available when we're at the bottom of the page. So it's always on. So it's going to start when we're at the bottom of the page. And as we go up the page, we're going to turn that class off using a toggle class function in jQuery. But to do that, we're actually going to use something that's already there in Divi. So if you've ever used the animations that come in Divi modules to make stuff fly in left and fly in right and all of that other stuff, then you've already used waypoints.js. It's built into Divi. It's a JavaScript library which effectively makes stuff happen at certain points as you scroll. Now, to give you an example, this is the waypoints.js page or website. And as I start to scroll, you'll see this stuff starts flying in because these all have waypoints. It knows that once I scroll a certain way down the screen, do other stuff. Once I scroll up, do something else. And it's making all of these things happen. So because this is already included in Divi, we can hack it basically and use it to create the effect that we need. So what we're going to do here is create a waypoint function. And this is how you write a waypoint function. So what you should notice is it's very similar to the way that we created the document function, and we are doing it inside of the document ready function. So again, this is only happening once all of the elements are loaded. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say when the main header gets to the top of the screen, we want to do this. So this is where we put the stuff in that happens. So when the main header gets to the top of the screen, the homepage container will toggle the class open up, which is the class that we added here to run as soon as the page is loaded. We're now going to toggle it. So because it's on, once we get to a certain point, we're going to turn that off. So we need to let the waypoint function also know at what point to do that. So because we want it to happen in the middle of the page, we are going to add an offset of 50% to make it happen in the middle of the page. Now, if you've ever had a look at the Elegant Themes homepage and you've seen the section that as you scroll down expands, this is using waypoints as well. There's also a couple of waypoint function tutorials on the Elegant Themes blog as well. So if you want to learn more about how this waypoint function works, there's some really good resources out there that are specific for Divi. It's also one of the 20 or so functions that we cover off in the Transforming Divi with CSS and jQuery course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that. And if we go back to the front page, what we should hopefully be seeing is that the open up class is added there. And as we go up, that class is being removed. Now, Chrome makes it really easy to see changes like that because it highlights classes that are disappearing and appearing and things like that. So you'll see it happen. So as we scroll up, that open up tag is gone. As we scroll down, it comes back. So what that essentially means now is that all of the CSS that we applied to just there, so the class is there, the submenu opens upwards. The class is gone, the submenu opens downwards. So now we've created this nice cool effect where the submenu is always in the right place. Noticing is that as I scroll is probably not something that we want. So if we open up our CSS and style bot and just remove the open up class, and now that no longer happens. So we're applying that open up class just to the submenu positioning and not to the positioning of this arrow, which is now absolutely fine on both up and down motions, and the submenu works both up and down. So that's exactly what we needed to do. So all we need to do really now is go through and just make sure that we've remembered to apply the home class to make sure that this CSS and jQuery only runs on the home screen. And then if we copy that out of StyleBot or the customizer or wherever else it is that you're adding your CSS, copy that into our style sheet, go into our custom JS, make sure that everywhere that we're creating a selector, we are adding the home class in front just to make sure that it's the only place that's running. So home, 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 that all looks good. Save that, back to the front.
Bada bing, bada boom.
And just like that, 40 odd lines of code, you have this really cool effect where you've got the header underneath, sticks to the top when you get to the top, and the submenu works both ways. Because we're only targeting the desktop menu on standard mobile, it works exactly as you'd expect it to.
Awesome. We do have another question, SJ, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, well, that's it for the code. We'll I'll go ahead and I'll dump this code into the comment on Facebook Live and also in Zoom, just so people have it, but it will be available in the blog post that accompanies the recorded version of this as well.
Sharon wants to know what's the benefit of doing this versus using a blank page template that does not have the logo nav bar in it, and then using the full width module underneath another module. Doing that way would not give the logo, but just not sure what the benefit would be doing it this new way.
Okay, so there's a couple of benefits to doing it this way. Firstly, as already mentioned, you do get the logo. secondly, even if you are getting rid of the standard menu, you're also losing a bunch of metadata from not loading that on the page, which is, you know, things that are used for SEO, things that Divi has gone to great lengths to create to make sure that you know, it's all meted properly. You're losing that. But also, we've used loading it in front of the first module as an example here, but this effect could also be used on any page. It could be used on a template page. It could be used on you know, pages that you can't normally get to using the page builder. So I think it's better not to take for granted the fact that you're going to have the ability to edit the pages, and it's better to have a uniform approach that allows you to do this on any given page. This takes you beyond the limitations of the Divi page builder, and brings functionality that you wouldn't normally be able to get to anywhere on your website, really. So yeah, those would be the main benefits. Also, the fact that, you know, you've got the menu sticking as it gets to the top of the page as well. You wouldn't get that just by using the standard modules.
They're asking, you know, obviously, you know, you were just targeting the home page. If I wanted to target on all pages, would they just remove the home tag, basically, SJ? And it would...
Yeah, so if you took out the .home class in both the jQuery and the CSS, that code would run on any page that has a section in it. So as long as it can recognize the fact that it's got a section in it, it will push that section to above the header. So that could work on all pages. The reason that I have specifically targeted the home page is that if you're having this effect on all of your different pages, some sections will be larger than others, some won't be very large at all, and it's obviously going to change the placement of your header in any given space. What you could quite easily do with this is ensure that you added the CSS to make this top section large enough that the header actually starts at the bottom of the page on any given device, and that's quite a nice effect to have. Using it on every page is absolutely fine. You can do that literally just by removing the home tag in the code.
Hey SJ, why don't you go ahead and quit sharing your screen? We're pushing up on an hour now, and we'll answer the last couple of questions. Pablo, our good buddy Pablo, wants to know what happens if you have a secondary menu on top of the main header.
So
Pablo.
It depends on what you want to happen. So none of this code at the moment is targeting the secondary menu. So that will stay fixed to the top, and then the standard menu will move up to meet it. However, everywhere that you've used the ID for the main menu, you could just as easily use the ID of the top menu and combine those selectors to make sure that both menus move upwards and stick to the top when they get there. So it's completely up to you what you want to do. Personally, when I was testing it, I preferred the effect of having that second menu stuck to the top and then having the primary menu come up to meet it. I thought that was quite a nice effect. But yeah, it's completely up to you. You can modify the code as and how you feel fit.
I'm going to, before we dive off and answer what looks to be the last question, I'm going to give a shout out for something tomorrow night. Divi Chat is right around this time every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That starts about an hour and a half later than what we started here. Tomorrow night, we're doing Facebook ads, and we're going to go over some of that stuff. That may be something that some of this audience is interested in. We do it live just like we're doing this now through YouTube. Divi Chat's YouTube channel. Come over, join us, check it out, ask questions like you're doing here on this platform and stuff as well. And Dave, let me see. Oh, SJ just dropped the code in. I was about to say, man, somebody.
I just dropped a whole bunch of code, so apologies.
Yeah. David wanted to know, what are the advantages of using StyleBot instead of using built-in Chrome and spec tools? I think I know, but I'm going to let you answer it, SJ.
Yeah, so when you use Chrome's tools, every time you refresh the page, you're going to lose any CSS you wrote in the Chrome developer tools. You could just as easily use the CSS option in the customizer, and there's no real benefit to using Stylebot over the customizer CSS except speed. I am by the sea in the UK, and my internet is hazardous at best. So even loading the customizer for me can sometimes be slow. I'd much rather use CSS Stylebot, which actually uses JavaScript to emulate those changes and doesn't say it's never slow to load. It loads in my browser, so I know that the code is always going to be there. Even if I exit the website and then come back later, the code's still there, and it's pretty safe, you know. There are some downsides to using Stylebot. When you do, all of the CSS you write, to make sure that it works properly, Stylebot adds a hidden important tag to it. So sometimes you'll see it work in Stylebot, but then it won't work when you add it to your custom CSS or your child style.css. So you may have to then go back and look at, okay, how do I build my selectors to ensure that they are overriding the theme defaults, as we did when we were troubleshooting why the header wouldn't come down at the start of this webinar.
Boom. SJ, well, this has been fantastic, my friend. Whew, man, this has been a mouthful here on this webinar. Thursday.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate, like, this is a bit more advanced than the one that we were doing the other day where we were dealing with font sizes. But hopefully what it's done is it's given you a look at how you can inspect the CSS, how you can investigate how certain websites or even Divi modules are doing things, and then emulate those changes for yourself. And hopefully it's given you a little bit of an insight into creating jQuery. Because once it's one of those things, like if you have dabbled in CSS, you may have found when you first started doing it, it was very hard to kind of wrap your head around. jQuery is the same way, but if you are coming from a CSS background, you should take to jQuery like a duck to water, and it should be much simpler for you.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, it definitely was eye-opening for me and stuff, and I know we've got a couple of more webinars planned for future where SJ jumps in and he teaches some pretty awesome stuff. So do we even know what we're going over on Thursday, SJ?
I think we had we've got a couple of things that we could choose from.
We do.
But again, throw it out to the public. If anybody's got a specific thing that they'd like to see, or anything that you'd like us to cover, then let us know, because we can always pivot.
Absolutely. Yeah, let us drop us a note on Facebook, or come over, leave a comment in the blog, or wherever you can find us. We're on social media and stuff. Drop us a message. All right. Well, I think anything else you want to say? You're welcome, Anne-Marie.
No, I think we're good from my end. If anybody does have any questions and you're not watching this live, just drop them into the comments, and then we'll get to them through the week and make sure that we're answering your questions.
And I'm going to say this last one thing. We will be uploading this video to Vimeo and YouTube. So if you want to watch it later, obviously you can watch it on Facebook. It'll just be on the videos tab on Divi Space's Facebook page. But the quality is going to be a lot better on Vimeo and YouTube, because I've been recording this the entire time locally, and I'll upload that video to YouTube and Vimeo. Now, it's not going to be anything fancy, no intros, no outros, no post-production, just us talking, getting down to the nitty-gritty and stuff. So if you're not on the webinar sign-up page, we will drop a link into the Facebook live video as well, so you can go over and sign up to get notified whenever we do have upcoming webinars and stuff. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. I want to thank SJ James for sharing his knowledge and experience with Divi, CSS, and jQuery as well. And you're very welcome, folks. Everybody's giving us thank yous and stuff, SJ. So
yeah, thank you to everybody. I'm just catching up on the comments now. Thank you to everybody that came along. We've got 16 participants in the Zoom and 17 people watching live still on Facebook, so 18 people. So thank you to everybody that stuck around. I appreciate that was a long one.
yeah, actually, we had about 40 to 50 that stuck the whole time. Now, in and out, who knows? It could have been one or two dropping in and out. So, but yes, thank you very much for hanging in there. And hey, we're going to be doing another one on Thursday. So be checking your email and we'll let you know when we're going to do it, what time, and what we're going to be talking about and stuff. So check you guys later. Say bye, SJ.
See you then, guys. Thank you.